Hello and welcome to another video. Today we're going to take a look at two of the Pokemon that got massively upgraded for the new season of Go Battle League. First of all, Quagsire with its new buffed Mud Bomb, bringing it all the way up to 17th on PvPo, and the Shadow all the way up to 11th, and Emolga with the Acrobatics, which is just an absolute nuke and a big upgrade on the area list which it had before. Using Zapdos, Shadow Zapdos on the safe swap to lure out the things that Emolga doesn't want to see. It's kind of an ABB team, and also to bring a little bit more spice to the team. It's very fun, it works out very well. Emolga is an absolute beast up a shield, as you're gonna see. Going into the first game, we lead into a Shadow Venusaur. Yikes, we have to safe swap Shadow Zapdos immediately. But the good thing about Shadow Zapdos is, when you safe swap it, a lot of people just don't know what to do about it. So they end up staying in way too long, and they have to shield this Drill Peck before swapping into their Umbreon. And I don't think Shadow Zapdos can overcome this Umbreon. So I let it go and just try and set up Emolga with a shield advantage, which is what I do a lot of the time with this team. Go for the Drill Peck because I realize I'm probably going to get to 2. Otherwise, if you only get to 1, you want to go for the Thunderbolt. Go for the second Drill Peck. This should put the Umbreon quite low. And now Umbreon's Foul Plays don't do all that much damage. So I would actually rather take a couple of these and farm up a lot of energy on Quagsire rather than take it out before it gets to another Foul Play. So take another Foul Play. It doesn't really do all that much damage, as I say. And now we can farm up to 100 energy and then go for the Mud Bomb on CMP here to take out the Umbreon. Umbreon is obviously losing pretty much every CMP against everything. Then we come out with enough energy for a Stone Edge for this Venusaur, which would either do massive damage or grab the last shield, does massive damage. And now we bring in the Emolga, they swap in Quagsire, and this is kind of awkward. I think we need to call the bait in order to win this game. And as I've said before, when you have 2 shields in an end game like this, people are almost always baiting. So we call it, and it is the Mud Bomb. A Stone Edge would obviously been absolutely devastating. We go for the Discharge on CMP afterwards. It takes 5 for a Mud Bomb and then 6 for the Stone Edge afterwards. So it takes 11 for one of each. And then even if they bait us here again, we should be able to outpace to this Discharge and go for the CMP, because it's 5, 4 and then 6 for another Stone Edge. So we do CMP tie them with this Discharge. But the Venusaur still has a lot of energy. It's actually 1 away from back-to-back Frenzy Plant at this point, and even resisted, it would do so much damage to Emolga. So we catch it on the Quagsire instead. Very nice catch. Takes out the Quagsire, and now we can get to the Acrobatics completely unnecessarily. A Discharge would have been enough, but it's just a lot more fun to land Acrobatics. Boom, takes out the Shadow Venusaur, we get some weird bug, and that is a good game. Next game, lead into a Shadow Loading Sandslash. You're probably going to see a lot of these in this season. The safe swap Sableye, we don't really have a proper response to this, so we stay in, go for a Mud Bomb, and then swap in Emolga. Emolga is quite a lot more bulky than Shadow Zapdos, so it can take a move from Sableye, which is why I'm bringing this in instead of the Zapdos. Go for the Discharge on CMP, which Emolga does win. It wins CMP against like Swampert, Venusaur, Sableye, Frostlass, those types of Pokemon, which is very nice. A lot of people don't expect it to, but it actually has a quite high attack stat. We take out the Sableye, because we can lift that Foul Play. We could have also lifted a Return, I think. A Return does about 74%, so it would have been close with the additional Shadow Claw. But then they bring in Shadow Alone and Sandslash. Of course, absolutely huge that we keep Switch advantage here, because we want Quagsire on this thing, and not Shadow Zapdos. Shadow Zapdos does not like Ice types. They go for an Ice Punch. Fun fact here, Drill Run is actually more energy efficient than Ice Punch from Shadow Alone and Sandslash, or Alone and Sandslash in general, even though Ice Punch is stab and Drill Run is not. Drill Run is just a lot better of a move in general. They bring in Medicham after letting the Alone and Sandslash go down, and this should be a pretty good spot, because I think it takes 5 counters for Medicham to overcome the 2 shield scenario against Shadow Zapdos. Because Shadow Zapdos is just so quick to these Drill Pecks, and obviously a super effective move from a Shadow Zapdos is going to do absolutely massive damage. They overfarm quite a lot before throwing the Ice Punch. I think they maybe tried to throw me off their energy count, but I'm just gonna show them who's boss really and go for the Drill Peck on CMP. And This just does so much damage. Boom! Takes out the Medicham, and that is a good game. Next game, we lead into a Skarmory. We have 2 better responses in the back. This is not a horrible matchup, but again, we have 2 electric types. We kind of want to see if we can lure out maybe a Lantern or a Galarian Stunfisk, or if they have something like that in the back. We lure out a Swampert, and they no-shield the first Drill Peck. Let us get to another Drill Peck before they get off their Hydro Cannon. And they have to shield this, of course. Now they load up to back-to-back Hydro Cannon. So I have to shield twice if I want to keep my Zapdos alive. And I don't think I can farm it down. So I just decide to let Zapdos go. Take the shield advantage for Emolga. And then bring in Quagsire to basically sacrifice it. We can't live another Hydro Cannon. So we have to go for this Mud Bomb immediately to take out the Swampert. Now we can bring in the Emolga once again for the Skarmory. They bring in a Quagsire. Shadow Quagsire. We go straight for the Acrobatics. How much damage does this do? Neutral Acrobatics against a semi-bulky Pokemon in Quagsire. Massive, massive damage. I realized that we can probably just double shield this safely and farm the Quagsire all the way down. Of course, we go for the CMP on the potential Stone Edge here, just because then they have to give us their shield if they want to take our shield, and it's just pretty safe to go for. They do shield, so we also have to shield. It's the Stone Edge. Now we can just file them all the way down before they get to another move. Come out with a little bit of energy for the Skarmory. Go for the Discharge. This is not quite enough to take out a Skarmory. And I'm not sure if they lost counts or maybe just don't know the count for a Emolga, but they let us get to another move. A Brave Bird would only have done about 49%, so we could have lifted relatively comfortably. But yeah, that is a good game. Next game lead into another Alolan Sandslash. This one decides to stay in. This is of course a very good matchup for Quagsire. They throw an Ice Punch after only 5. Again, Drill One is more energy efficient. That is actually what you want to throw in these neutral matchups. Then they swap into a Charizard and we throw the Stone Edge immediately. Do they see it coming? They do not. We one-shot the Shadow Charizard, and that is a good game. GG. Next game, lead into a Noctowl. We have 2 better responses in the back. We swap in Shadow Zapdos, they swap in Quagsire. And this is a pretty awkward matchup because it's very bait dependent. If we can call the Mud Bomb correctly or the Stone Edge correctly, we're in a pretty good spot. But also, if we shield the Mud Bomb, it's terrible. They farm up a lot, go for a move. I decide to call it and no shield. But it's the Stone Edge, takes out the Zapdos. But once again, it's fine, because we have given Emolga a shield advantage. And Emolga with a shield advantage is pretty good. We let them get to another Mud Bomb, because my Quagsire basically wins no CMP ties with 1485 CP and 0 attack. Go for the Mud Bomb right before they get to another one. And now I kind of want to empty the Quagsire's energy before swapping out so that I can use it safely as a sack swap later on potentially. And then bring in Emolga, they bring in Swampert. It's another one of these teams. I've seen a lot of these Noctowl double Mudboy, like Skarmory double Mudboy teams. They're quite popular. We go straight for the Acrobatics. My opponent realizes that I am probably not very likely to bait when they only have 1 shield remaining. So they shielded up, very nice for them. Hydro Cannons are the moves that we want to shield in this spot. They do more damage than the Shadow Balls, so we go for the double shield here on the Emolga against the Swampert. Then go for the Acrobatics. Is this enough to take out the Swampert? Would be very nice if it is, but it's not quite enough, and they get to another Hydro Cannon. But here, the Noctowl has a move. And I'm anticipating, because I'm up against it, I happen to go up against a very high leaderboarder in rank 2. So I'm anticipating that they're going to snipe me with their Noctowl. So I actually try to catch the move on my Quagsire. That's why I'm bringing the Quagsire, because I knew the Noctowl had a move. But they waited a turn to see if I brought in my Quagsire. And then they didn't throw their energy. And they ended up just farming my Quagsire down with their Noctowl. Very nice play by my opponent. Next game, we lead into the Core Breaker. Right after losing our first game, we lead into the Core Breaker. Shadow Bomber Snow. And I go for a very risky bait. If you're in a situation like this, where you just kind of hard count, you're just behind from the get-go, you kind of just have to take risks. which is also why I'm no-shielding the first move, hoping it's a Weather Ball. I'm not sure I can lift this, so I do decide to put up the shield, because now we can force the second shield or do massive damage to this Abomasnow, pretty much take it out, and then swap in the Zapdos, because Abomasnow down shields is not very good. We do get outpaced, but the Shadow Zapdos is now going to get a lot of energy, and nothing wants to take this energy. They try to catch on a Shadow Sableye. I should have gone for the Thunderbolt here. I go for the Drill Peck. A Thunderbolt does about 90%, and if I went for it, we would have taken it out. And also, very, very good detail here. If I take out the Sableye, you saw I had the Drill Peck. If I take out the Shadow Sableye, the Abomasnow is just going to come in and farm me down. And then my Quagsire can't really do anything. And my Emolga can't really do anything once they're behind on energy. But if my Emolga can get ahead on energy, then it can take out the Abomasnow. So I decide to not throw on the Sableye so that I can bring in my Emolga to hopefully farm it all the way down and come up with enough energy to threaten the Abomasnow. And we get the perfect farm down on the Shadow Sableye. Then they bring in a Azumarill. I try to always keep enough energy on my Emolga here so that I can take out the Abomasnow if they bring it in, or outpace the Abomasnow. I try to catch an Ice Beam on the Quagsire here as well, unsuccessfully. So they overfarm very nice instead. Go for the Play Rough, meaning they probably don't have Ice Beam, so they should be 3 away from the next Ice Beam. They try to catch the move on Abomasnow, but we get off the Acrobatics on the Abomasnow. Now, do we have enough energy to get to the discharge on Azumarill? Yes, we do. Is it enough to take out the Azumarill? Yes, it is. And that is a very, very good game. Next game, lead into a Deoxys. You might think this is a fighter. We have 2 flying types, but Zapdos really doesn't like seeing this, especially if it has Rock Slide. And Quagsire does take resisted damage from both Thunderbolt and Rock Slide, so they have to debuff themselves. This is a nice thing about having a ground type against Deoxys. You do the same with Galarian Stunfisk and Swampert. They're actually pretty nice matchups because they pretty much have to throw Thunderbolts unless they want to debuff themselves. So we can go for the third Mud Bump on CMP here. This either grabs the shield or takes them out. Actually a pretty good matchup for Quagsire, it looks like. And now at this point, if we can get a shield advantage on our 2 flyers, yes, there might be a Bastiodon in the back and that would be horrible, but even against like a Galarian Stunfisk, getting a shield advantage on these 2 or like an energy advantage, they just put in so much damage. They bring in a Registeel onto Zapdos. This is not a good response. I always try to overfarm as much as possible, especially when I have a Pokemon that people might not be aware of the counts on. So you see I try to overfarm, also because now I want to come out with as much energy as possible. Takes 8 Thunder Shocks, the equivalent of 8 Thunder Shocks for the Registeel to get to a Zap Cannon, so we can overfarm a lot. The Deoxys was only 1 away from the Psycho Boost, so we go for the Drill Peck on CMP. They shield it. And because they shielded, I realized they're probably weak to Zapdos in the back, meaning they're probably also weak to Emolga, but I do decide to shield Zapdos, and now we can go for the CMP, or we can just catch the Psycho Boost on the Quagsire, probably a bit unnecessarily, and my opponent concedes the match. That is a very good game. Yikes for my opponent. Yikes. Next game, lead into a Charm, Alola Ninetales. And I go for a very risky bait. I'm not sure this is the correct play. Probably should go for the Stone Edge, but we do grab a shield, so that's very nice. And now we do get to another Stone Edge on the Alola Ninetales. This would either do massive damage or grab the last shield. Does massive damage. Now they're forced to expend energy in order to take us out. And once again, if you get a shield advantage in these 2 flyers, you're in a pretty good spot. Also, you don't need the switch advantage because Zapdos and Emolga have very similar strength and weaknesses, so we can just swap out, save the Quagsire for a sack swap later. Go for the Thunderbolt as late as possible once again, overfarming as much as possible, trying to make my opponent forget counts. Maybe they're not aware of the counts. So we go up to almost 100 energy here as well, once again. And if they shield this, I think we're going to be able to outpace them to another Thunderbolt. My opponent shields it, and we get to another Thunderbolt on the Registeel because they don't know their Zapdos counts. Take out the Registeel, and we're still up a shield. They bring in a Swampert. I bring in Emolga because Zapdos is debuffed, so I don't want to throw the moves whilst being debuffed. So clear the debuff, bring in the Emolga. They go for an Earthquake, probably realizing that the game is over. But kudos to my opponent here, because they allow us to see how much damage an Acrobatics does to his Wombat before quitting. And now they quit to not waste our time. So very nice. Like this opponent. Next game, lead into a Galarian Stunfisk. And they stay in. Then they swap into Noctowl, trying to catch a Mud Bomb, I think. And I make a bit of a mistake in swapping in the Zapdos, because Emolga has a lot more of a comfortable matchup here. Zapdos takes a lot of time to get to the Thunderbolt, so it's not very comfortable. And it also takes like 68% damage from a Shadow Ball. I was very lucky the opponent threw after only 6 wing attacks, meaning I could just no-shield it knowing it was a Sky attack. But if they had went for the Shadow Ball, it would have done enough damage so that they might have been able to farm me down afterwards, making this matchup very uncomfortable. So if they save swap a Noctowl, or like a Flyer, you want to save the counter swap Emolga. If they save swap a Fighter or a Grass type, you want to counter swap Zapdos very quickly, because then you can outpace to the Drill Pegs. So yeah, generally swap in Emolga onto a Noctowl. Here, Quagsire does have a better matchup against Lantern, but I decided to bring in Emolga because I would rather have Emolga on Lantern than against Galarian Stunfisk. They bring a Galarian Stunfisk and throw immediately. I think they're trying to make me think they went for a Rock Slide on the Emolga. So I called that it's an Earthquake, and it was an Earthquake. Now it takes 7 for the second one, so there should be 5 off here. So we go up to right before they get to the next one, hoping they lose count. Go for the first Mud Bomb. If they grab a shield, if this grabs a shield, we should be able to get off the second one. Quagsire does win CMP, and they should take out the Galarian Stunfisk. And obviously, the Lantern can't really do much against this Quagsire, so my opponent concedes the match. And that is a good game. Next game, lead into Medicham. We have 2 better responses in the back. Once again, bring in Zapdos, because now we can outpace to a Drill Peck before they get to an Ice Punch, and this should threaten the shield or do massive damage. So we do get the shield. They go straight for an Ice Punch. Zapdos can't really take this, so we do have the shield. But Zapdos does just generally outpace here, so it is a pretty good matchup. Then they bring in a Lantern. I let them get to a Surf, thinking that I could live it, because it's a pretty bulky Lantern. But we only just about lift the Surf. Get off this Thunderbolt. Should do massive damage. Now we can bring in the Quagsire. And once again, same principle as earlier. These Surfs are not doing a lot of damage. I can go for the CMP on the next Surf and take it out, or I can overfarm massively, let them get to another Surf, and then just save all this energy, bring in Emolga and hope to farm down the Lantern with Emolga before they get to another move. But they just about get to another Surf. This is just a good way of just gathering a lot of energy everywhere, which is a strategy I like to use. They swap in Medicham, indicating that they're probably very weak to Emolga. I realized that I can get to 2 Acrobatics before they get to 2 Ice Punches, so no reason in baiting here. Go for the CMP in the first one. It takes 6 for the Ice Punch for the first 3 Ice Punches, so we can go for the CMP here again. After 6 more, go for the Acrobatics. And Acrobatics does so much damage to Medicham, as you're gonna see later on. Takes it out here. And now what do they have in the back? They have a Noctowl. We get to a Discharge. They should do a lot of damage to the Noctowl. We have a lot of energy in Quagsire, so we bring it in, go for the Stone Edge, and they should take out the Noctowl. Now they only have like, I think 2 HP on their Lantern in the back or something, so we can just mud shut it down. And that is another good game. Next game, lead into another Medicham. Once again, swap in Zapdos, but they respond with a Dugong. But a Thunderbolt does about 87% damage to a Dugong, so they basically have to shield this, which is why it's a pretty safe bait to go for, because yeah, they're always going to shield, I feel. And then we can get to the Thunderbolt as well afterwards, because they decide to try and farm us down, and that grabs the second shield. And at this point, again, Emolga up 2 shields is a beast. So we bring in the Quagsire, just basically trying to sack it, really. They overfarm quite a bit here, so they should still be able to outpace Emolga if I bring it in, which is why I don't really want to bring it in, have Emolga get debuffed by an Icy Wind before I get to a move. So I would rather try and take out the Dugong with Quagsire, which is why I go for the move despite it being debuffed so heavily, and it just doesn't do enough damage. And at this point I just let Quagsire go, hoping Emolga can take out the rest of the team. They bring in a wall rain. We want to go for the discharge immediately because our fast moves are out of sync. Go for the discharge. Does a lot of damage. They farm up a lot of energy to almost 2 icy winds. And I'm thinking, do I want to farm this down? Do I want to go for the discharge? I decide to farm it down, spend 2 shields, and just come out with enough energy to threaten whatever they bring in. So we can just go for the acrobatics if it's the Medicham. The Medicham is 4 away from an ice punch. So we go 3 more and then go for the acrobatics on a CMP. I'm not really sure. Maybe I miscounted. Maybe it's just a pop. We go for the acrobatics. Does massive damage, but the Medicham lives on 1 HP and gets off a move. But it's only a power-up punch, so we live it. They bring in the Dugong. We get off the discharge. This should take out the Dugong. This game is going to come down to, can we live 1 counter from the Medicham? No, we cannot, and that is a simultaneous KO to finish off this video. That was the last battle for today, and overall this team worked out very well for me. I went 17-2 with a draw. However, these battles were in the rank 1 to rank 5, so probably not the most competitive games. It is probably more on the fun side, especially with Zapdos and Emolga. Quagsire could definitely be a mainstay for the meta of this season. Maybe with a Noctowl, maybe that Noctowl double Mudboy team might be a competitive team you can use if you want to try to climb with it. Other than that, fun fact of the day, Shadow Quagsire has better matchups against Azumarill, Noctowl and Alolan Ninetales, and is generally better for the Open Great League, I feel, than the regular Quagsire, but it struggles to take an Earthquake. It almost one-shots a Quagsire from a Galarian Stunfisk, and it also struggles to take 2 Surfs. So down energy against Galarian Stunfisk or Lantern, you can actually get in trouble with Quagsire, which is why I like the regular one better, because it's just more comfortable in these matchups, which is what you need in an ABB team like this, I feel, which is why I went for the regular one. The Shadow is probably better for Open Great League though, overall. Other than that, if you like what you see, or you feel like you learned something, like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time.